everybody out there on YouTube. We are the Middle-Aged Guys back to continue our episodic reviews of Young Justice, going through all the episodes. Let me get all the introductions out of the way. I'm the Reverend.
The Theme here.
And I'm Grey Mouse 1.
For this particular video, we are going to be reviewing Young Justice Season 1, Episode 18, entitled Secrets, which originally aired out on November 18th, 2011. Like we said before in our previous reviews, episodes are 6 years plus old right now, so there's not going to be any spoiler warning, because in these reviews we're pretty much going to cover 3 key points. First one being what we liked about the episode, second one being what we didn't like or what we might change, and then third one finally being what in the episode did we see acts as a reference or a setup to a future episode or storyline arc coming down the pike. All right. Without further ado, let me go ahead and just do the quick and dirty synopsis of Season 1, Episode 18. Secret starts out with basically the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. There's a break-in where they find out the only thing that's been stolen from all the valuable stuff there is the sword of Beowulf. All right. The curator unknowingly sits there and he speaks the magical incantation that unlocks the power of the sword of Beowulf, which allows Harm, the guy who actually went ahead and steals the sword, to go ahead and access his power, and then he starts running amok. We go to the cave and we notice that the team is getting ready for a Halloween party, namely Miss Martian, Superboy, and Kid Flash. They're getting ready for a Halloween party. They've got the Halloween dance at Happy Harbor High. They invited over Zatanna and the rest of the team members, including Artemis and everybody else, to go ahead and attend, but not everybody is able to attend. In fact, it turns out that Aqualad and Robin, they are not able to attend because they're conferring with Batman and other senior members of the Justice League, along with Red Arrow, the possibility of there still being a mole within the team. And they go ahead and they mull over that. During the time that Zatanna and Artemis arrive, Zatanna makes the observation, so how long has it been since those two have been a couple? She's talking about Superboy and Miss Martian, which completely catches Artemis by surprise, and in a way that just makes her say, fuck this dance, I don't want to go to it, let's just go do something else, right? So Zatanna goes ahead and she suggests that they go ahead and do a girls' night out, where pretty much they go out amongst New York and everything else and look for trouble, look for crimes to stop and everything else, pretty much giving Artemis an excuse to go out of her way and to vent her frustrations on unknowing criminals. That, in turn, inevitably makes them cross paths with Harm, who wants to go ahead and end up killing them so that he can attract the senior members of the Justice League, in this case, Zatara and Green Arrow, so that he can go after them to go ahead and challenge them and hunt them down. That starts a whole cat and mouse game between Zatanna and Artemis and Harm, and which takes on kind of a horror movie vibe, especially when they run into a little girl whose only little catchphrase is secret. All right, that goes on until they actually go ahead and defeat Harm. All right, it turns out that the little girl is actually Harm's sister. In order for Harm to become pure of heart enough to go ahead and wield the sword of Beowulf, he had to do the murderous thing, kill his sister, kill any semblance of love and everything so that he could be pure evil, and then he was able to wield the sword. Once they expose his secret and they find out that, telling Harm that, hey, we know what you did and everything else, it sends his mind into into a spiral, and he's not pure of heart anymore. He's not pure of conviction anymore to be able to willingly wield the sword, and they promptly kick his ass and leave him there for the cops to find. Back at the dance, Miss Martian and Superboy and Kid Flash, they pretty much foil a large Halloween prank where one of the students there, Melvin, I believe, was saying that Martians were invading, which is a callback to the whole War of the Worlds thing with Orson Welles and all of that. And they pretty much kind of wrap that up. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. All right. There's a little interplay with one group on one side and a little interplay with the other group on the other side. No, nothing really big. Was there anything that I missed with this particular episode? I think that pretty much wraps it up. Okay. So that does it for the synopsis. What we're going to go into next is, guys, what did you like about this particular episode? Floor is open.
It was hilarious from the get-go. I mean, you had certain people that was going to go out trick-or-treating. I mean, to the party. Captain Marvel wanted to go, and they totally insult him.
Yeah.
All he has was his face was painted. That's what was kind of funny. And he's just like, I'm going trick-or-treating. And it's like, you got to remember that this is a kid. you got to remember that. So that was hilarious. The fact that Artemis was just, no, they're not going out. And yeah, she was very, very upset. I thought you knew. It was pretty obvious. I mean, yeah. Then they go out, they do certain things, Satana and Artemis. And then the party, just the party. Oh, God. Like you said, with the whole War of the Worlds thing, everyone was getting texts on their phones. But I like the episode because it jumbled around 3 separate stories, if you will. Gray Mouse, what about you? What did you like about this episode?
I like they kind of wrapped up the mole story for as far as we know up to this point. There was serious between Aqualad and Robin. And it kind of, there's a thing with Robin that I feel like he knows something that Batman pretty much kind of put his hand on his shoulder, kind of stopped him, which we'll find out later. That could be on, later. But I like the fact that and I like that Harm and Secret actually get a little bit of screen time. Those are lesser known heroes, or not heroes, but characters rather from the DC universe. And it's always good to see lesser knowns be portrayed on in cartoons or cinema or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. I have to say what I really like about this particular episode is the fact that, yes, like Gray Mouse just pointed out, that we have Harm and Secret show up, and they're not very well-known characters, but they're given time to go ahead and shine. It's one of those things where it's like a lot of the characters that show up within this particular series, they give time out to not just, oh, hey, these are Superman's core rogues gallery. This is Batman's core rogues gallery. This is Wonder Woman's core rogues gallery. No, they pretty much pick and choose, like, hey, look, these are other villains that exist within the universe that really do fit within, whatever story that they're trying to portray. That's really cool. The interchange between Zatanna and Artemis was pretty funny, in the fact where it was like, well, Zatanna, she's still pretty new to the group, all right? So there are some things that she goes out of her way that she states that she assumes that everybody else already has a grasp on, or she'll sit there and she'll say things that, other team members aren't expected to say, because guess what? She's new to the group. She's not part of the pecking order. So when it came to, hey, look, how long have they been a couple and everything else? Well, she didn't know the whole power dynamic between Miss Martian and herself, as that power struggle over that boy. which was Superboy, and that was made very obvious in previous episodes. All right. Was there anything else that we wanted to go ahead and throw on the pile as far as things that we liked or other things that we wanted to talk about for that first point, guys?
No.
Yeah, I just got one more thing. It's like when they walked at the party and everybody was all the costumes were DC characters, and it's like, you've got
Justice League heroes. Yeah,
yeah. I thought that was a cool nod.
Yeah, I mean, every time Superboy sees an S on somebody else that isn't himself or Superman, he's just probably walking around just fighting the urge to just smash a hole through that person's face. It's like, you're not Superman, you're not myself. Take that shit off. That's in the back of his head.
Well, but another thing is that constantly reminds him that he's not Superman. And that's something that he's yet to come to terms with. So
yeah. And that's definitely going to continue for the rest of the season, at least. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go ahead and let's move on to our second point that we always cover in these particular reviews, guys. Was there anything in this episode that you didn't like, or anything that you saw that you would have changed if you had a chance?
The one thing that annoyed me was the very beginning when the report was giving about the sword being taken and about what it could do.
Yeah.
Now, you're telling me that you're going to blow it off as far as saying that it has mystical powers. And dude was like, right. And it's like, you're forgetting that you're in a universe where a dude wears, red and blue drawers and flies through the air. You're forgetting. Look, I'm not even going to go to.
A lot of people are in tights in that universe. A lot of people are in tights in that universe.
I'm not even going to go further than that. But that was the main thing that freaking annoyed me, because I'm like, you're telling me that you don't believe that this sword has mystical, magical powers to it?
Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm done there. At least for now. Gray Mouse, what about you?
I would actually like to see more backstory between Harm and Secret. Also, I would like to see Secret actually do a little bit more of her powers. I mean, she didn't. Yeah, I mean, I would just like to. They should have draw them out a little bit more, or not draw them out. What's that word?
Flesh them out.
But yeah, a little bit more. Where to those people that don't know, I just felt like it's one of those introductory, introducing these characters to people who might not know it. I mean, it would have been so much better if there was a little bit more, story behind them, and they, especially Secret. I mean, all she said was Secret, but of course, I mean, I understand that, but it just, I wish they were a little fleshed out a little bit more. And this thing with what is it? Jealousy.
Yeah,
I think that was a little bit. I don't know.
They are teenagers.
Yeah. They are dumb teenagers, as we always reiterate. For myself, I gotta say that even though I like the fact that they are picking and choosing from the really deep wealth of villains that are out there, and this is probably due to the fact that they only show up on this particular episode and everything like that. But yeah, Harm and Secret are pretty one note. There isn't a lot to them. Okay, in fact, the moment that Harm isn't able to sit there and harness the power of Beowulf's sword, he pretty much turns into a pushover and he gets his ass kicked, like, literally within 30 seconds.
Right.
All right. So there wasn't a lot there when it came to that. The other thing that seemed like maybe there would have been a bigger payoff to it was the whole thing with, like, Superboy finding out about Melvin, the fact that Melvin is trying to pull a prank on the whole school. I thought, there was going to be much bigger, more socially catastrophic, consequences to the fact that, they pretty much outed him as somebody who's trying to pull a prank on the whole school and everything, when all it turned out, it pretty much just kind of was reduced down to trick or treat, shrug, and that's it, And literally that's pretty much what it turned out, what it turned into. This with this particular episode, this is I think the thing that really bugs me most of all with this particular episode, especially after I've rewatched it a few times, this is the first one that feels like it's filler, almost for the sake of being filler. Okay,
2/3 of it. Yeah.
Because
there was the Halloween party that was kind of unnecessary, that they spent so much time on it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had the heroes talking in the cave, and then you had the whole Harm secret Artemis Satana thing going.
Yeah, and the thing about like the heroes talking in the cave about the mole, pretty much they spend all of literally 3 minutes on it.
Yeah, it wasn't,
and that's it.
Yeah, wasn't very long.
And on that point, that'll really bring us to like our third point that we usually talk about. What did you guys notice in this particular episode that acts as a reference or a setup for something that's coming in the future?
As Grey Mouse pointed out earlier, when Robin was talking about when they were discussing the mole thing, and Batman had totally cut him off.
Yeah.
Because he was about to reveal something that everybody just probably that most likely doesn't know. So Batman was like, no, she has the right to a secret identity and all of that. So everybody is like, okay, we know where this is going, but the team is not allowed to know just yet. So that was one thing that I noticed about this. But Grey Mouse, what about you?
Well, the obvious, I guess, what is it? Like they're increasing the relationship between Superboy and Miss Martian. Seems like it's moving forward more. And I mean, I kind of feel the same way that the Reverend feels, that it's just not much there in this episode to really pick, other than what you've already said. And I mean, of course, the talk that the guys had, that was I think that was the most important bit of information that we got from that episode. And like you said, it only lasted 3 minutes. I know we just did what we didn't like, but it kind of the same to me. So.
Yeah, with this particular one, I think the only pertinent thing, like if there's anything else that happens within this particular episode, is that we find out that, well, there are a few really important things, I guess, or pertinent points that we find out. Number one, we find out that, yes, they're still concerned about there being a possible mole in the team. And again, like we stated before, they cover that all of 3 minutes, pretty much. And number two, we find out that Artemis is a sore loser. She is a really sore loser, and she really does, fall prey to certain other base faults like jealousy and things like that. Which, on an off note, you sit there and you wonder. It's like, well, Wally's been gunning for Miss Martian like since episode number 3. How is he going to react, in comparison when he finds out what's going on? Because he's still as oblivious as ever, to the sort of relationship that's going on pretty much right in front of him. So
it's like a typical teenage trope. Is kind of what this episode was.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah, and the thing about that is that, with all things considered, it's like, okay, we've established that there are certain things that are still going on. I think we've kind of pushed forward that, yes, Zatanna is getting closer into the group as far as it goes. She isn't a permanent fixture in the group just yet, but she's getting there. And that, like I said, Artemis is a sore loser. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up if we don't have anything else to go ahead and throw on this particular pile.
So
All right. Yeah. On a scale of yay, nay, or meh, what are your thoughts on this particular episode, guys? Floor is open.
I still have to give this a yay. The thing about it is, even though the episode was kind of jumbled, but they hit on every emotional state. That's why I'm going to give this episode a lot of credit, because it's like, okay, you had three things going on. And even though the mole thing was barely even touched on, you still had that go on to tap into certain emotions that, or even like wonderings or questions that you may even had. So I'm still going to give this a yay.
Great Mouse, what about you, sir?
I'm going to give this a meh, simply because they did not progress the storyline at all, per se, except for 2 minutes of it. And I just felt like, I pretty much like what you said earlier, felt like this is just a filler episode that could, I mean, we could probably do without this episode and move on to episode 19, and not even really, whatever happened in this episode really didn't matter, I felt.
Yeah, it's almost like you really wouldn't miss a beat. I would have to agree with you, Gray Mouse. On this particular one, this is the first one I'd have to sit there and say, I'm going to give it a meh. It's not atrocious. It's not horrible. The thing is that there really isn't, as far as anything critical that goes on. Like I said, they cover the whole thing for like 3 minutes, and then we find out that Artemis is a sore loser. All right. There wasn't any real big payoff to the fact that they foiled Melvin's plans to prank the whole school. All right. And like I said, even though I like Harm and Secret as far as them like deep diving into the realm of DC characters to go ahead and showcase on the show, it's really one note. And once Harm loses control of the Sword of Beowulf, he literally gets his ass kicked in less than 30 seconds.
Yep.
All right. It's as if Bluto went ahead and decided to eat the spinach instead of Popeye, which has happened on one episode. And yes, Popeye did get his ass kicked. All right.
Intentionally.
Yeah, intentionally. All right. But this is one of those things where it's like, for somebody who goes on his way, saying that he's pure evil and everything else, and that he's he calls himself Harm because he intends to inflict harm. You think that I don't know, maybe he'd turn around and he'd start gnawing on Artemis's foot or something, after she kicked him in the face or something like that. If you can't use a sword, at least try to do something like that. But maybe that's just me. All right.
Well, you wouldn't have gotten past Satana.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
and for somebody to add more onto this a little bit, and for somebody who I've said multiple times, and I believe you said multiple times too, Reverend, is that I'm a very deep story guy. I like story. I like to see the story develop. I like to see things that come together and a big payoff, and then to move the plot forward as a season. This episode just didn't do it at all. I mean, they slightly moved it forward with the mole, but it was. If you blinked, you would have missed it. And I don't think there was enough context in that little 3-minute meeting to push the plot forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably look, out of 18 episodes so far, this is the first one that we any of us have come to sit there and say that it's forgettable. And if you don't watch it, guess what? You're really not going to lose a lot in comparison to the other ones. Yeah, you're not going to lose anything at all, other than the fact, like I said, we find out that Artemis is a sore loser. All right. But like we always say, or like I always say at the end of these reviews, what do you think about season 1, episode 18 of Young Justice Secrets? If you've watched the episode and you've watched our review, thank you very much. Are we off base here? What did you think about the episode? If you came off thinking something else about it, we'd like to know. You can let us know by leaving us a comment below. While you're at it, click on that like button, especially if you think we're worth the effort. And if you really want to go ahead and stick around and see whenever we put out more reviews or talk about other geeky stuff, I highly suggest you subscribe to our channels, turn on those notifications, and you'll know whenever we drop out a new video. with that, all of our bullshit about Season 1, Episode 18 of Young Justice, entitled Secrets, ends right here. I'm the Reverend.
The theme here.
And I'm Gray Moss One.
All forms of entertainment has the right to exist, even if you don't like it. Credits.